The Secrets to a Successful Marriage is a new 6-part series from Pete Briscoe that helps you take your marriage to a divine level of fulfillment and satisfaction. The series is on for your donation to help Tell Me the Truth stay on the air, helping you and others around the world experience life in Christ. Call today, 1-800-889-5388, 1-800-889-5388, or give online at tellmethetruth.org. Let's go back now to Jill.
I can illustrate this very well from my husband and my point of view. Stuart and I are so different. Now, he was a bank inspector, and as you know, when my checkbook gets in a mess, I open another account. And so here we have two totally incompatible people getting married. And he has never really believed anybody can be as stupid as I am about numbers. He thinks I'm doing it on purpose. And one of these days he's going to believe me. It just isn't there. But we are very different in many ways. I like to prepare, for example, messages 3 months ahead of time, if I can. Now, you might not think that because you're always saying what you're going to teach, and I say, I don't know yet, I don't know yet. But actually, it's not that I'm unprepared, I'm usually over-prepared. I've got a lot of things I want to do, and I don't know which one I'm going to do. And I do my homework, and I prepare, and I learn it, and I practice it, and I sleep with it, and I get up with it, and I just, that's the way I work. Stuart reads. He is a bookaholic. If there's a group for bookaholics, he should be the president of it. I mean, if, you know, a real help group. It is incredible. I have these nightmares of being eaten alive by books. But he is able to retain, and he can tell you facts about the first moonwalk and things like that. It's not that he's practically got a photographic memory. It's incredible. And so he learns differently. He prepares differently. He just reads. He'd read brown paper if you gave it to him. And then he gathers all of that somewhere in here and computes it all and puts it in an outline. That's all he has, and then he gets up and preaches it. So when we came to the States, we had been a sort of a part in ministry with him traveling so long. I got so excited. Now we were going to do this together. And we got an invitation to do a marriage seminar in Racine. And I said, Stuart, let's do it. This is wonderful. We're going to minister together instead of ministering apart for all these years. So he said, yes, okay, that sounds fun. We'll do it. Well, 2 months ahead of it, I said to him, now, can we sit down and talk about what we're going to do? And we're going to get us something so I can start. Because, darling, you know, I have to do this. I work a lot harder than you do at this. And yes, we'll do it. And we got to a week before and we had still not done it. And my stomach was in a knot. And I was absolutely panicking. And so the day came and we had still not had time to sit down and do this. I had gone ahead and prepared a little talk because I could see this wasn't going to work. And I didn't know whether it would fit or what it was like. So on the morning, as we were about to set out, I called upstairs to Stuart, who was rushing around upstairs. Do you yet know what we're going to speak about? And he came downstairs and he looked at me and he said, Jill, you know the material you need to use. You just don't know you know it. You've got all this stuff. You've done these things. You know it. You do. And I said, oh, that's not the point. And we had this incredible row, and I burst into tears and got in the car and drove to Racine, crying my eyes out. Well, this was on the way to teach on marriage, of course. And we arrived there, and I say, well, you better do it, because, I mean, I'm in no fit state to do anything. I'll, just do it. Just teach it. He said, no, they've asked us both to do it. I said, Stuart, look at me. He said, well, I'll lead you inside. And so he took my hand because I couldn't see. My eyes were closed. And we get inside all the time with me saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then he says, we'll talk about it. What do you mean we'll talk about it? He said, in front of him. That's what we'll do. I said, we'll what? He said, yes, we'll discuss this. And he said, they can listen if they like, but this will be the part of the seminar that will be very practical and helpful. So here I stand, obediently but wetly, and we discuss, and we do forget them. And he says, now, Jill and I have had a little difference of opinion. That was putting it mildly. And we're just going to talk about it before we start our teaching, if you'll excuse us. And so we begin to have this dialogue, and we try to explain what went wrong, that we are very different and that we do things differently. And I told him it would be a lot better if he did it my way, and he told me it would be a lot better if I did it his way. And we began to move together and compromise, and we said we were sorry, and we made up, and he gave me a little kiss on my cheek, of course. This was public. And then he said, now, let's talk about this. What went wrong? You've got to learn to fight fair. You've got to learn to resolve conflict. You've got to learn to come together. And he said to me, Jill, I have not been fair to you. I understand that that's what you need. I will try and get to this 2 hours before the event next time. And I compromised too and said that I understood that's how he worked best, and I would try to relax a little bit and believe I knew what I knew, and that we would try and work together on it. So we are very, very different. And if you're going to complement each other, you have to take your strengths and make them fit. It's been very difficult for Stuart and I to minister together. We've found the way to do it. He takes an hour, I take an hour. We do not try to dialogue anymore. That was the first and last time we ever tried to do that. It doesn't work with our style, with our gifting, with the way that we are. Not long ago, a psychiatrist was listening to us talk, and he said, I've never heard such an example of left brain, right brain in my life. He said, Jill, you go for the heart, and he goes for the head, and you get us all. And I realized that God had helped us complement each other in ministry. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of talking, it takes a lot of tears sometimes, but it can be done. If you're going to complement each other, you have to celebrate the differences, and we're able to do that now. Now, if we're going to celebrate the differences, you have to accept each other as you are. And acceptance is not resignation. There's a difference between accepting somebody as they are and resigning yourself to living with this stupid man. You know what I mean? That's resignation. Oh, all right, have your own way. All right, do it, and I'll have to bend and I'll have to do this. That's resignation. Acceptance celebrates the difference, says, this is how he is. Now then, how can I fill up that which is lacking? In his weaknesses, my strengths can match. And how can I accept what he is and say, Lord, in what redemptive way can you use this? That's acceptance. You see the situation. You are very different people. Now, how can we buy this back? How can we maximize it? How can we make these two people one in a sense that's going to have more impact in our world, in our family, in the ministry? So they were complementary. There's no doubt about it. They were very different, but they're obviously doing their thing and happy about it. That's the second word, contented. And you say, well, no wonder they're contented. They're rich and they're powerful. Have you noticed she's got servants? Have you noticed she's clothed in purple, which is, the word is double, means she had long johns on. It means she was warm for the winter. She has no fear for the snow. She is dressed in purple, which of course is the color of queens and royalty and leaders' wives and all of that. But the word is also double, warmth and thickness, which was very expensive in those days. And you say, well, I'd be contented if I was rich and if I was powerful. That helps a marriage if you're not always arguing about money and you're not always strapped. Don't always believe that. Sometimes it does help, certainly, to be financially viable, and there isn't that strain. But it is not what your life possesses that matters, or that possesses you. A man's life does not consist in the things that he possesses. It doesn't consist in the things that he possesses. It's very hard to be convinced that things, or vacations, or whatever it might be that would add to your life would not bring you contentment. But God can give us contentment with such things as we have. Be content, the Bible says, with such things as you have. For God has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And I remember in those days when my parents had this beautiful country home in the Lake District. And they had a home in Liverpool where my father's business was. And they would come up to their country home for the weekend. And our house at Capernwray, where we were based at the youth centre, was sort of in the middle. And so they would always stop in and we'd have a cup of tea and we'd chat. And I remember one day my mother saying to me, in this little tiny house that was our home at that point, a little gatehouse, there were 4 gates to this big estate where the youth centre was. And the youth centre was in the castle. And we lived in one of the little tiny gatehouses. And it was very tiny and it was very uncomfortable. It was very damp and it wasn't at all glamorous. And my mother said, very wistfully, Jesus lives here. doesn't he? And I said gently, yes, Mom, and I'd rather live in my cottage with Jesus than in my castle that I have been. I have often quoted my favorite poem on this, Scott Wesley Brown's Things. Things upon the mantle, things on every shelf, things that others gave me, things I gave myself, things I've stored in boxes that don't mean much anymore, or magazines and memories behind the attic door, things. Things on hooks and hangers, things on ropes and rings, things I have that blind me to the pettiness of things. Am I like the rich young ruler, ruled by all I own? Jesus came and asked me, could I leave it all alone? Lord, I look to heaven beyond the veil of time to gain eternal insight that nothing's really mine, and to only ask for daily bread and all contentment brings, to find freedom as your service in the midst of all these things, for discarded in the junkyard and rusting in the rain are things that took the finest years of lifetime to obtain. And whistling through the tombstones, the hollow breezes sing a song of dreams surrendered to the tyranny of things. That's powerful. Scott Wesley Brown's song, it's his words. And you know, when I think about that, I have seen it in my own family and know it in my own experience.